Greetings my friends and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I've got a bit of a seasonal special for you entitled Soundtrack to Your Fall or Autumn, depending on which side of the pond you happen to be viewing from. But essentially these are a couple of albums, a little handful, I've got 5 albums in fact, that I recommend as a soundtrack, a perfect soundtrack to this time of year, when we notice in this transitional season the leaves are changing colour, the temperature is dropping, the nights are drawing in, but it's a really beautiful time of year that's perfect for putting your headphones on, going out for a walk in nature, or just sitting in your garden observing the changing natural world around us. And it's a great time of celebration as well, whether it's the Harvest Festival or Halloween coming up or Thanksgiving, whatever it is, it's quite a good celebratory time of year as well. There's lots of good folk traditions there injected into this time of year as well. So we've got all these natural changes, we've got all these celebratory times coming up as well, but you need some music for that. So, as I say, I've just got a few recommendations and I'm going to kick off with this first one. This comes from a band called Ensiferum, a Finnish folk metal band with Viking and sort of Norse mythological inspirations, lyrical themes and leanings. This album, to be honest, I could have picked any of theirs, but this album entitled Two Paths is a personal favourite of mine. I just think this is really uplifting, folky metal, and it's the perfect stuff for putting your headphones in, your earphones in, and going out for a march across the fields or through the woods. It's got that folky element, but it's metal. It's got plenty of killer riffs, great vocal work, really chant along stuff, tons of big hooks there, tons of great choruses, and we've got some killer tracks here. Personal ones that I would recommend. We've got the very uplifting, very metal track for those about to fight for metal. Track number 2 there. That is a great, catchy song, guaranteed to get you moving, headbanging, walking at a slightly quicker pace out across those fields there. Then we get some more great tracks. We've got Way of the Warrior as well, King of Storms, Feast with Valkyries, which is very folky, very uplifting stuff indeed. Then we've got I Will Never Kneel, very uplifting stuff. If you're having a bit of a crappy time at work, that's a good one. I Will Never Kneel, do not bow down. Then we've got some more good tracks. God is Dead, Hail to the Victor. It's just a really good folk metal album. It's very uplifting, but for some reason, maybe it's the aesthetics there, the artwork, it really does remind me of autumn, this time of year. And I'm not sure why, but seasonally, in my opinion, this is a very fitting soundtrack. But as I say, you could probably pick any of the Ensiferum albums. If it wasn't this one, I probably would have gone for perhaps the self-titled album or Unsung Heroes. They're just all great albums, but this one I recommend. Two Paths. So we're going to stick with Finland here, and we're going to go folk metal again, but we're going to go really out there folk metal. We're going to go really weird, off the reservation. These guys have been making great strides over the years. They've released a ton of great albums, and again, to be honest, I could have picked any of their albums to be a good fitting soundtrack to fall or to autumn, because it's all about nature, it's all about mythology, it's all about folk and lore and history. But Korpiklaani are one of those folk metal bands that is just so powerful. It's metal, it's heavy metal stuff. We've got some great vocal work there, nothing too technical. We haven't got King Diamond behind the mic here. We've got just a good solid voice, we've got some great musicianship just across the whole band. And this album I picked, the first album, Spirit of the Forest. This is one of my personal favourite albums. Having said that, they don't have a bad album. It's just one that I revisit quite regularly. This is from 2003, but we've got some great tracks. Now I picked this album in particular, because of tracks like Wooden Pints, great title track, very uplifting, very folky, perfect for your harvest festival. Grab your pint of ale and celebrate a successful harvest. Then we've got God of Wind, very good, very uplifting, very folky metal there. But With Trees is probably the next notable track that's a perfect autumnal or fall soundtrack. It's a bit of a longer song, it's very folky, it's quite slow, but it's very uplifting stuff. That is a perfect track to be listening to while you're out walking through the woods. Absolutely brilliant. Watching those leaves fall, it's fantastic. It almost gives you goosebumps listening to a track like that. And certainly you have a song like that in your head when you're standing there at work or sitting there at work, whatever, and you're just thinking, God, I'd really rather be out there right now, staring through the bars, looking at the natural world, thinking, freedom's got to be out there. And that's a good song. That's a good song to be listening to if you can. So, With Trees, another good track there. Elsewhere, Man Can Go Through the Grey Stone. Very folky, very upbeat, very good one to get you shaking along to. Pixies Dance. Nice little instrumental piece there. Also got Shaman Drum. Now that is very folky, but it's very uplifting stuff. So Korpiklaani, Spirit of the Forest. This is a great album for this time of year. Fantastic listen. Korpiklaani are just a great band anyway. Say what you like about vodka and beer and all of that. There's actually so much more going on beneath the surface. So much more depth and so many more interesting, deep themes and depth to the band. Don't just think crazy music with an accordion and with a violin and it's all about beer. It's not all about beer. Although beer is very important, it's also about folklore and history and the natural world around us. Very spiritual stuff. So, perfect for autumn. Okay. The name aside, Winter Sun, this is of course autumn, but this album, The Forest Seasons, is a really beautiful example of that collision between black metal and symphonic metal and all these different symphonic and electronic elements thrown in there. This is a superb album, and I really do associate, although it covers all the seasons of the year, this album really does take me to these transitional seasons. Maybe spring, but more autumn. And this is another great one to be listening to while you're out there having a walk on a brisk autumnal morning. Awaken from the dark slumber, spring. A great opening track. It's very moving stuff. It's very emotive. It's very almost cinematic. It's like a collision of, as I say, black metal with neoclassical symphonic metal and all these different elements. Very classical, rooted stuff. Certainly a huge leap forward from Time One, which was, and still is, my favourite Winter Sun album out of the three. But I just feel like this is such a good soundtrack. Forget the winter in the title there, soundtrack to autumn. It's fantastic. And certainly that opening track, as I say, and Eternal Darkness, autumn itself, broken down into 4 parts there. 4 parts? 4 parts. It's a really nice listen. If you're not familiar with Winter Sun, I would say if you like black metal and symphonic metal, then this is an album not to be missed. I believe this is a Finnish band as well, but I just think they're a fantastic band. Again, perfect for this time of year, and that artwork is very much a seasonal piece. It's got nature, we've got the forest alive, and all these different things going on in there. It's the sort of perfect fantasy soundtrack. So if you're marching through the fjords, or not through the fjords, around the fjords and the forests, and what better stuff as a soundtrack for that kind of journey? Winter Sun, The Forest Seasons. So, Scandinavia, we're gonna leave that behind, and we're gonna go back to old Blighty. We're gonna go up north, in fact. We're gonna go with folky black metal legends. They've certainly made a great headway in this country and across the black metal world in recent years. Winterfylleth, Again, I could have picked any of their albums, but I do often gravitate towards the Ghost of Heritage. It's perfectly chilling stuff. It's lyrically, it's all about history and the ancient world. It's very spiritual stuff. I've talked about these guys recently because of the spin-off band, side project band from Winterfylleth, Ard, termed monastic doom metal. Very spiritual stuff. And this Winterfylleth are no less spiritual, in fact. It's very deep, and that artwork I absolutely love. If you're not in the know, that is a castle called Peveril Castle in the Peak District, overlooking Hope Valley, a place I have been, and it always takes me back there. It's a beautiful piece, but we've got some great tracks here. And I say it's black metal, it's very ambient black metal. It's very emotive stuff. It's very moving. It's very encapsulating stuff. It's not like the absolute furious noise wall that we have with a lot of black metal bands, but nor is it symphonic or overly technical, like Emperor. So not like Watain, not like Emperor. Forget that. This is very raw, organic black metal with a very different sound. But we've got some great tracks here, and it just is the perfect soundtrack. Again, put those earphones in. Go out for a march across those fields. Observe the natural world around you. Perfect. But Mam Tor, the Shivering Mountain, just great. The March to Malden, Forging the Iron of England, great stuff. Not because it's patriotic or anything like that. All that aside, it's really good stuff. It's really uplifting. It's really soulful and spiritual. Very grounding. Defending the Realm, Guardian of the Herd, the Englishman's Verse. And this one version comes with bonus tracks, but whatever version, if you've got that main body of the album, The Ghost of Heritage is a fantastic listen, certainly for this time of year. Absolutely can't recommend that one enough. Gonna have to go back across the water for this one. We're going to a Swiss folk metal band this time. See, it's a very folky time of year, but a band that I cannot neglect from talking about folk metal or folky traditions, or even the natural world and history and spirituality. I'm talking Swiss folk metal band Ensiferum. Just rolls off the tongue. A great band, and again, I could have picked any of their albums, to be honest, but this one, Everything Remains As It Never Was, is a very heavy album, actually. We've got so many different musical elements thrown in there, lots of different instrumentals. It's a very complex and textured and layered band, but they are great. We've got the perfect merger of heavy, aggressive music, very groovy, very melodic, very crushing riffs and aggressive vocals, juxtaposed with clean singing and all these different folky instruments. It sounds great, and this is a personal favourite, as I say. Again, it's perfect, uplifting stuff for marching across those fields, going out in the woods, just being in the season. Ensiferum, Everything Remains As It Never Was. A very interesting title, with that Grubenhaus on the front there and the rather mournful looking lady there. It's just great stuff. So, I mean, there's countless more albums I could have recommended, to be honest, but these ones are, in my opinion, a great soundtrack to your fall or to your autumn. Just to recap, we've got Viking folk metal legends Ensiferum with Two Paths. Again, if you're not familiar with them, I could have picked any of their albums. Just explore around, possibly unsung heroes, possibly From Afar. They've just got no bad albums. Korpiklaani, again, folk metal, but this is their first album, Spirit of the Forest, but they've got so many good albums. There's not a bad album there. All are worth checking out. Symphonic metal, Winter Sun, The Forest Seasons, a great album. Really moving, symphonic piece. So layered, so deep, so textured. It's just so full. It's cinematic in its delivery. Black metal, raw, simplistic, just soulful and very well executed stuff. Winterfylleth, with The Ghost of Heritage, a beautiful album. One of my favourites. Heavy, nasty, certainly is, but it's very soulful and spiritual stuff. And Ella Vitae, Everything Remains As It Never Was, another great folky album. All these different complex musical elements thrown in, and the whole package is very heavy, very spiritual. So, what do you think of these recommendations? Do let me know. Check them out if you're not familiar with them. What do you think? Are these a good soundtrack to your fall, to your autumn? Does it make sense to you? Because I'm quite interested to know what other people think. But thank you very much for watching, and feel free to like and subscribe as always. I'm very, very grateful. Check back soon for more reviews and words of all things good and heavy. But you take care, my friends. Stay heavy.